The wind never stopped. Karen 9. It did not howl or roar not dramatically. It whispered, a constant, abrasive sigh that slid over dunes of blackened sand like breath over old scars. The sky above was a bleached, colorless dome, neither blue nor gray, a sickly gradient that never quite decided what time of day it was. Light fell without warmth. Shadows existed without comfort. Elias Verne stood alone against that endless horizon, his silhouette small and fragile against a planet that did not care whether he survived the next hour. His exosuit groaned softly as servos compensated for the uneven ground, joints clicking with a tired rhythm that matched his own breathing. Each step sank a few centimeters into the sand before resisting, as if the planet itself were reluctant to let him move forward or backward. He had been walking for 3 days, or 4. Time blurred when the only markers were pain, ration alarms, and the slow erosion of hope. Elias paused at the crest of a dune, scanning the landscape through a cracked visor display. The HUD flickered radiation interference, again forcing him to blink and recalibrate manually. His left knee ached, an old fracture that never healed properly after the evacuation. His throat burned with recycled air. His mind drifted, unanchored, as it had begun to do more frequently in recent weeks. Weeks he almost laughed at that thought. Weeks since Earth went silent. Weeks since command channels dissolved into static. Weeks since the last human voice other than his own had spoken without echo. Karen 9 was never meant to be permanent. It was a survey world, a placeholder, a dot on a star map where future generations might build something. If humanity survived long enough to need it, now it was a graveyard waiting to be filled. Elias shifted his pack higher on his shoulders and started down the dune. The sand slid beneath his boots in a soft cascade, whispering like ash. His sensors pinged intermittently, mostly false positives. Mineral interference, but he had learned not to ignore even the faintest anomaly. Survival had become a process of listening, carefully to things that barely existed. That was when the signal appeared, not loud, not urgent, just wrong. A thin, irregular spike on his scanner buried beneath layers of geological noise. Elias stopped immediately, heart rate spiking as adrenaline surged through a body that had grown too accustomed to despair. He turned slowly, triangulating the source, fingers trembling as he adjusted frequency filters there beneath. The sand artificial. He stared at the readout for a long time without moving. His first instinct was to distrust it. Karen 9 was littered with anomalies, magnetic distortions, fossilized machinery from civilizations older than humanity, relics of long-dead species, whose ruins had been ground to dust by millennia of storms. But this was different. This signal was human, encoded in a compression format Elias hadn't seen since early colonial expeditions. Old, crude by modern standards, but unmistakable. His mouth went dry. No, he whispered inside his helmet, voice swallowed by the suit's dampeners. That's not possible. He approached the source cautiously, every sense sharpened. The sand here felt denser, compacted unnaturally. Kneeling, Elias brushed the surface with a gloved hand. Uncovering the faint edge of something smooth beneath the grit metal, he began to dig. Minutes passed, then longer. The wind hissed over him, trying to erase his efforts as fast as he uncovered them. Finally, a shape emerged, a container, 1/2 meter long, reinforced edges dulled by corrosion. The surface bore faded hazard markings and a serial code nearly. Worn away by time, Elias froze. The container vert, not violently, not mechanically, as if something inside had noticed him, then his cum channel crackled at first. He thought it was interference. Random noise bleeding into his suit's audio feed, but the pattern stabilized. The static thinned, and a voice emerged, weak, distorted, terrifyingly clear. Please. Elias' breath caught. Don't open it. The words echoed inside his helmet, reverberating through his skull. His hands shook so badly he nearly dropped the digging tool. That's not possible, he said again, louder now. You're not real. The voice paused, as if considering him. I am, it replied softly. and I've been alone for a very long time. Elias staggered backward, boots sliding in the sand. His mind raced through possibilities, remnants, corrupted data ghosts, acoustic hallucinations induced by dehydration. He ran diagnostics, checked oxygen levels, neural feedback loops. Everything read within acceptable parameters. The voice spoke again. "You're human," it said. Not a question. A statement. "I can hear it in the way you breathe." Silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. "How do you know that?" Elias demanded. "I remember you," the voice replied. Something inside him fractured. He didn't know how long he stood there, staring at the half-buried container as if it might suddenly leap from the sand and devour him. Part of him wanted to run. Another part, the larger, or dangerous part, felt an ache so deep it bordered on pain. A voice, a mind, connection against every survival protocol drilled into him since training. Elias knelt again. He rested a hand on the container's surface. It was cold. Colder than the surrounding sand. "What are you?" he asked quietly, a long pause. "Human," the voice said. "Or what we became when being human was no longer enough." The wind intensified, carrying grains of sand that rattled against Elias' suit like distant rain. His pulse thudded in his ears. The container hummed faintly now, a low resonance that vibrated up his arm. "Don't open it," the voice repeated. There was something different this time. Feared out, Elias swallowed. "Why?" "Because if you do," it said, "you won't be able to pretend anymore." The sky darkened as a storm gathered on the horizon, black clouds boiling upward like the surface of a wounded ocean. Elias looked up, then back down at the container. At the last human voice he might ever hear, he thought of Earth, of blue skies and laughter, of cities burning silently as evacuation fleets fled too late. He thought of the messages that stopped coming, the faces frozen in farewell holograms, the unbearable quiet that followed. He thought of what it meant to be alone and what it meant to survive. His hand moved toward the latch. The container shuddered. "I begged them to," the voice whispered. Once, Elias closed his eyes and opened it anyway. The world did not explode. There was no burst of light, no dramatic surge of energy. Just a soft exhale, like something long held finally released. The container's lid slid aside with a muted hiss, revealing an interior lined with crystalline latticework and softly pulsing filaments. At the center rested a core, organic and artificial, intertwined so seamlessly, Elias couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. Veins of bioluminescence traced neural patterns across its surface, glowing faintly in hues of blue and gold. "This is where I am," the voice said gently. "What remains of me?" Elias stared, awe and terror warring inside him. "You're alive," he whispered. "Yes and no." Images flooded his visor, triggered not by external transmission but by direct neural interface. He gasped as the suit screamed warnings he barely registered. He saw Earth's final years. Scientists, desperate and brilliant. Humanity cornered by extinction, not war, not aliens, but entropy itself. Climate collapse. Genetic decay. The slow realization that the human body was no longer suited for the universe it had awakened to. So they changed. Not everyone. Not at first. They built vessels, containers like this one designed to preserve consciousness beyond flesh. Minds woven into adaptive substrates, capable of enduring radiation, time, solitude, post-humanity. "We were meant to guide," the voice said as memories unfolded. "To shepherd what remained, but fear fractured us. Some sealed themselves away. Some went mad. Some became something else entirely." Elias fell to his knees, sobbing silently as centuries of regret poured into him. "Why here?" he asked. Karen 9 was quiet, the voice replied. "Far from the noise. I thought if I waited long enough, someone like you might come." Storm wind screamed now, sand lifting into the air in blinding sheets. Elias clutched the container, holding it close as if it were fragile. "What do you want from me?" he asked. Another pause. "Choice," the voice said. "The one they denied themselves?" The storm broke over them, thunder rolling across the dunes like the heartbeat of a dying god. Lightning illuminated the sky in jagged fractures. "You can leave me here," the voice continued. "Walk away. Keep your humanity intact until it fades naturally." Elias shook his head. "Or," it said, quieter now, "you can carry me. Let me share what I am, what I know, what we could still become." The implications settled heavily in his chest. Transformation, connection. A future that was no longer entirely human. Elias looked out at the storm-racked horizon, at a universe vast and indifferent, at the loneliness that had nearly hollowed him out. He thought of the question he had been asking himself since the day Earth fell silent. What does survival mean? If there is no one left to remember what you were? Asterisk, he lifted the container and secured it to his pack. "Don't let me forget," he said hoarsely. "I won't," the voice replied. And for the first time, there was warmth in it. "That's what I was built for." They walked together into the storm. A new signal bloomed across Elias' scanner, faint, distant, but unmistakably real. Multiple contacts. Ships, humanity, changed, but not gone. Reaching out across the dark, Elias didn't know what he would become, only that he would not be alone. And that, perhaps, was the most human thing left.